Thank you, Candace, and good afternoon, ladies. My name is Erin, and I am with Clearwater Credit Union, and we are honored to sponsor today's luncheon keynote speaker, Lynn Casey, founder of Shine Scout. Lynn is a highly sought-after thought leader, brand builder, and futurist, helping industry-leading organizations make the biggest leaps possible. She is known for her unique ability to spot patterns and connect the dots of emerging sociocultural, digital, economic, and behavioral trends, and translate those into actionable strategies. Previously an award-winning marketing executive at Paramount Pictures, Lynn has shifted her focus to the heartbeats behind the data points driving the change. Her unique ability to unpack authentic human stories and use these for connection and creation has earned her recognition as a channel for innovation. Lynn has traveled the world to work with and guide companies as diverse as Mattel, Activision, Facebook, Instagram, Citibank, Estee Lauder, just to name a few. She is currently based in Los Angeles with a generous sprinkling of New York, where she helms her trend and consumer insights consultancy. Lynn? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I was incredibly delighted to be invited to this event, in particular because it was about 10 years ago I first fell in love with Montana. I came out here as an invitee to a Hatch Summit. Shout out to all you Hatch members that are here. And immediately fell in love with the mountains, with the culture, and most importantly, with the people. There's such an authenticity and an embrace of the magical and the mystical here, and I felt its embrace when I landed yesterday. So thank you so much for having me. But on with the show. So as you heard, what I do is insights and future trends. And I think what I really try and help companies do is do this work. There's lots of ways to do this work, but the way we choose to do it is by focusing on the lens of human culture. I like to call the work I do cartography, map making, because that's all we can really do when we think about the future, right? We can gather our information, we can scour the territory, we can make a plan, but we have to hold it lightly. Things change. I mean, if the last 2 months doesn't tell you that, I don't know what does, right? So we have to make our maps, we have to do the homework, and then we have to keep our eyes a little bit ahead of the road. You heard about the companies that I work with. What's always interesting to me is these tend to be companies that have huge consumer intelligence departments. They work with McKinsey, they work with all sorts of incredible organizations. But what happens is, that sort of data only takes you so far. There's a point where you have to get out of the car, and you have to walk the last mile. You have to listen to people. You have to hear their stories. You have to really dig in and try to understand what it is they need and want. And I will tell you, in an age of AI, we're going to need that skill more than ever. In short, we believe the most important data points are heartbeats. And I want you to think about something. Anytime you're in a meeting, someone puts up a pie chart or a bar graph or some sort of very complicated, and there's all these pinpoints on it, and you're looking at the numbers. Every one of those small segments of data, every element on those charts represents a human being making a decision, usually at a moment when they were not their best. It's the only reason I have like 20 pairs of black boots in my closet. We use the analytical and the functional to rationalize what it is we do. We make our decisions emotionally. So let's explore the future. So question for you guys. When I say the word future, how do you feel? Anybody? What words come to mind? Hopeful. Pardon? Hopeful. Oh, I love that. Okay. Beautiful. A little nervous. Okay, I'm hearing a little bit nervous, hopeful, optimistic. It should be a mixed bag. There's a lot of anxiety out there right now. And the future is always a little bit anxiety-provoking because it's something we don't know. And human beings like to know things. We like to control things. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through some of the key trends, the key markers, to help you make your own maps, to help you build that topography out. And then at the end, we're going to talk about how we hold that lightly and what we need to look for when our maps fail. So what's a trend? These are not the trends I'm going to talk about today. So once upon a time, in a planet far, far away, when I worked in New York City in advertising, we actually could do things like, oh, next year it's going to be purple. Peanut butter, it's the color of the year. We could do all this work and still be ahead of our manufacturing timetables because we didn't have the internet. Can't do that now, right? I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, much less next week. So what we have to do is we have to look a little bit deeper. We have to look underneath. We have to look at these tectonic plate shifts that actually drive behavior. What we're going to talk about today is what I call it's a communal state of perception. It's a feeling that we're all holding collectively. Because the way we look at the world is not a matter of perception, it's a matter of perspective, right? What kind of environment did we grow up in? What kind of knowledge have we acquired? What past results worked or didn't work for us? What events are coming up in our lives? These all color how we look at the world. And all those feelings then collectively drive into the experiences that we have. A great way to look at this is Pantone. Who's familiar with Pantone? Oh, I love you guys. I can't tell you how, sometimes I hear like, huh? I'm like, so is everyone familiar with the color of the year? Right. So every year there's a brand new Pantone color of the year. And because I sit on the very commercial side of things, I assumed that Pantone sat around and had a meeting every year and said, okay, what color is going to drive the most merchandise? You know, it should be green or pink, like what's really going to move the needle? That's not how they do it. They have a collection of thought leaders, colorists, designers, culturists, all around the globe. And what these people are doing is they're taking the temperature of how people are feeling. They're taking the pulse of humanity. And then the color is prescribed, it is prescriptive to put things out into the world that respond to how we feel. So I'll give you an example. During the recession, if you go back and look at the colors, 2008, 2009, the colors are rich claret, like this beautiful rich burgundy, right? That makes you feel like, yes, everything is fine. It's better than fine. It's luxurious. And then the year after that, when that didn't work, it was this beautiful turquoise blue, because you know what? In my mind, I'm actually in the Caribbean, and I'm swimming in my private pool. So the colors were prescriptive. In 2016, which was a year where we saw anxiety at the highest levels it had ever been recorded at since being recorded. Just think about 2016, everybody. The colors that Pantone came up with were two colors. First time they ever did two. So it was baby blue and pink. Nursery colors, soothing colors, calming colors. So I'm not sure how we ended up with Mocha Mousse this year, but what they're telling us is it was supposed to evoke both sort of richness and earthiness, right? So making us feel, again, like everything's okay, but grounding us for the events to come. So when we talk about trends, this is what we're going to be talking about, that sort of collective experience that we're all having. So what are the forces that shape these trends? What are the forces that we always have to consider? What are the movements that are happening in the world, geopolitically, demographically, that are going to shift this communal experience that we're having? So these are the ones I've been keeping my eye on. The first one is pandemic aftershocks. So we can all roll our eyes and say, for God's sakes, we're done with the pandemic. Come on. We're on to measles now. Kidding. The pandemic shifted human behavior permanently. Anytime you have a human event that lasts longer than 18 months, you start to shift behavior. And this was a radical event. We were taught that strangers were dangerous. We were rewarded for staying away from other people. We isolated. We started working from home. We flipped so many scripts. And we will see and are seeing repercussions for that time for decades to come, particularly in children, right? When I talk to 20-somethings, they are committed to always going into an office because they never want to be isolated again. One example, right? So we have to understand and look at the impact of the pandemic. And I'll give you an example of this. I mentioned the recession earlier. We all remember the recession, right? Yeah, okay. So when the recession started to take hold, what was the number one item that was researched and purchased during the recession? Any guesses? Love that. That was pandemic, but I like where you're going. Bottled water, pandemic as well, crises. So I'll tell you, cookware. Because all of a sudden, people were financially frightened, and they stopped going out to eat. And then they realized that they didn't know how to cook. So they bought pots and pans, and they went online. Condé Nast launched Epicurious. We were downloading recipes, and you know what? It kind of started to be fun. And then we started to kind of look for other ways to cook. And then things like the Food Network were launched. And then we had foodies. And now we have this entire culture of food-oriented experiences, entertainment, stars, a whole ecosystem. That's that long tail of the recession. So what we're just starting to see now is what is the long tail of the pandemic, right? A lot of it's going to have to do with digital, for example, telehealth, huge, incredible, amazing. Our dependency on things being delivered right to our door, right, which really took off. We had whole cohorts. We had boomers and even Xers who were not willing to have deliveries made right to their house. There was a privacy issue about that. That went away in the pandemic. So I'm curious to see, and I'm watching now, what's going to be that long tail. Gen Z. So Gen Z is fully joining us now in the workforce, as parents, homeowners, community builders. It's a whole new generation, radically different than any generation that we have seen before. Wildly different than their big brothers and sisters, the millennials. And I'll give you a cheat sheet. Anytime you're working with cohorts and you're trying to kind of get your head around it, always think to yourself, okay, who is the generation that raised them, right? So when we look at millennials, we think, oh my gosh, millennials, there's so many, it's a huge group, they tend to work collectively, they're very optimistic, they're a little bit consumer-oriented, they're sort of loud and proud. Who were their parents? Boomers, yeah. So you see that echo, right? You see the echo of values. So when we look at Gen Z, who are their parents? Gen X. Little snarky, little alt, kind of indie, I don't trust you. So when we talk about Gen Z and we go, God, they're everything's kind of sus to them, and they always have a question. It's like, who raised them? Who raised all of you? No, who raised them? So it's a good cheat sheet as you're getting to know an emerging generation to understand what they're going to hold dear and what their values are going to be. So Gen Z is already shaking up what their expectations of the world are and what their expectations of life is. And I'll tell you, it's so positive, it's so amazing. I know we had time for quick little sidebars, but what I will say, what I love about Gen Z, when we talk about work-life balance, boomers sort of looked at the world, like picture a sun, and there were like little rays coming out of it, and those little rays were like weekends and vacations, and that big middle part was work. Right? And Gen X started to get like a little suspicious of that. They're like, nah, this doesn't feel right. Then the millennials came along and they said, I want sort of that Venn diagram. I want work-life balance. And Gen Z says, what are you talking about? It's just life. Right? There's a slice in there that works, but it's life, right? So that kind of perspective is really going to help shift us into, I think, a better way of living. Global disruption, I'll couple that with the bottom one, which is wars, but we can feel it. It's a very edgy time to be alive right now, right? There's a lot of disruption, there's a lot of shifts, there's a lot of change. There are more wars happening in the world than any time since World War II. An estimated 56 global conflicts are going on right now. And that impacts our collective consciousness. It makes us uneasy, it makes us sad, and it makes us scared. We're aware of it. And we're helpless. We don't have any control over it. So this is something that sits in the back of people's minds. And then finally, AI tremors. What's to come? So we all know AI is going to have a vast impact on our lives in such a positive way, right? It's going to eliminate so much tedium. It's going to get rid of repetitive tasks. It's going to free us up to really human really, really well. But it's frightening. Entire industries are going to be disrupted. Jobs are going to be lost. And what my biggest concern is the more rapidly we move towards this frictionless society, the less human friction, the good kind, we're going to have, right? We need each other. And the more things are delivered to our doors or intuited from our minds, the more that we don't have to stand across a counter and actually have an interaction with another person, the less we're going to know each other. So that's something to think about. So what trends evolve from those forces? So the trends that I'm working with right now are these 5. Loneliness and belonging, spiritual seeking, awe, cocooning 2.0, and haptic hunger. Loneliness and belonging deserves the top billing because it's the most important and it's having the biggest impact on us. So it's one of the long tails that's coming out of the pandemic we talked about earlier. And it also is one of the areas that is raising a lot of alarms as we look at AI. 1 out of 3 Americans report being lonely. And almost half of Gen Z reports the same. And these numbers go up when we just talk about men. Male loneliness is a huge epidemic. The US Surgeon General has spoken about it, but this is reaching crisis proportions. We're all seeking belonging. And we want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, whatever that is. And we're living in a time and a place where we don't go to church. We don't go to the town market. We're not Freemasons. These things that used to bring our parents together in the past, or our ancestors together in the past, we don't have access to anymore. What we have instead is things like book talk, right? Or strawberry makeup. And so we laugh at trends. But what trends really are is a way to show other people that I'm part of this too. I belong. I get it. I'm included. Trends are how we answer that hunger, right? Community makes us feel safe and seen. And we're going to see more of this hunger for community the less safe we feel, right? We want to know who our allies are, and we want to show that we belong. Again, coming out of the pandemic, something we call haptic hunger. So when we talk about haptic, it has to do with our 5 senses. I personally believe there's about 8 senses, but I'm not going to take you down that rabbit hole today. So in our highly digitized world, we're seeing this huge hunger for sensory experiences. I mean, one of the latest entries I saw most recently and have ordered are foil socks because they crinkle, they make noise when you put them on. Like, it's that extra haptic element to them. When you looked at Spotify Wrapped during the pandemic and you looked at teenagers, every single one of their playlists was sad. So you guys might go, well, okay, it was sad, it was the pandemic. No. So if you remember being a teenager, that's when you feel things for the first time, right? Like the romance is the greatest thing in the entire world, and happiness, like you're just floating on top of it, and sadness, no one has ever been as sad as you, right? Because they were alone in their room listening to Taylor Swift on repeat, they wanted to really lean into sadness. It's like pressing on a bruise. And when I worked with these kids, what they said is, I want to really understand, is that the feeling? Because they didn't know. It was like they were in a submarine underneath the water called the pandemic. So this hunger that's emerged out of the pandemic, food has to have some extra, umami quality to it. Sense, you'll notice this huge rise in scents, olfactory, fragrances off the charts. People aren't buying makeup, but they are buying fragrances. We want to smell things more. We want to hear things better. We're ASMR. We're starved for enhanced sensory experiences. So it's something to keep in mind. Gen Z, one of the things that they're doing is they're hosting dinner parties. There's this huge boom in these young kids hosting dinner parties, making the food together, trying new vegetables, laughing, having, again, this gustatory sensory experience because it makes them feel alive, right? So that's something to think about, whatever your business might be. Consumers are looking to engage their senses well beyond the digital screen. Really important. Spiritual seeking. So it's interesting, we saw the same thing again during the recession, where we saw a huge spike in astrology, in mediums, in this sort of like spiritual seeking. Because when we don't have control, oh God, do we want to believe that someone does, right? And if it's a force greater than ourselves, fantastic. So this whole area of spiritual practices has really started to boom again. We're seeing meditation, breath work, sound baths. I don't even want to tell you what they're doing in LA. It'd scare all of you. Scares me. Rituals such as saging, crystal work, affirmations. I'm starting to see this pop up. Like there's a hair salon in London where they have a ritual for ridding yourself of an ex that includes a scalp scrub, saging, and then a haircut. Because I guess that like leaves them behind, right? So all this ideas of ritualizing product and making that self-care ritual part of how you feel better and more in control is a trend that we're going to see more and more of. Cocooning 2.0, it's back. I always wanted to say that. So if you remember cocooning, a lot of you may not, cocooning first made its debut into our vocabulary in the late 80s. And humorously enough, it was in reaction to technology. I mean, I think the only technology we had in the late 80s was like a fax, so I'm not sure what everybody was reacting to. But it was this idea of saying the world is too much, it's moving too fast, and I'm going to have really nice kitchen things and soft blankets, and I'm going to do as much from home as possible. Be careful what you wish for, right? So we're seeing cocooning happen again, but in a different way. People are retreating. And I think when I say that, can you all, like, do you all feel that? Like people are like really kind of pulling back right now. We don't want to watch the news. We don't want to read what's going on. We don't want to hear one more bad thing. So we're pulling back. So that might look like endless scrolling on content. We're seeing a resurgence in things like 12-step skincare, right? That's a form of cocooning. It's like, I need to do this because it eats up half an hour of my day and it makes me feel better doing it. It's, right, it's cocooning, it's self-soothing. So and also coming out again, long tail of the pandemic. And I kept waiting for this to happen. As I watched the months go by, and I thought, there is gonna be a boomerang effect. We're all gonna run out our doors, just like that Orbit commercial, right? Make out with everyone wildly. And then about 6 months later, we're gonna go, I need a little quiet, right? We really developed an appetite for being alone, for having some quiet time, for being away from the noise. So this cocooning, this stepping away from life is something we're going to see more of. And finally, awe. It's a funny one, right? We're so digitally driven and oh so jaded. We've seen everything, right? So we crave the original. We crave the unique. We're really hungry for awe. And it's one of the reasons we're seeing a real drive back to nature, right? For these digital detoxes where you're out in the world and you remember like the magnificence of a waterfall or the breathtaking views of a mountain. We want awe. We have the gapification of America, right? Every single retail shop looks the same. Every product on those shelves looks the same. And so again, we're seeing a shift to the artisanal, secondhand, and thrift. Because craft comes with a story. It comes with a connection to a human being who made something out of a vision they had in their head, right? When you're buying a secondhand piece of clothing, you can't help but wonder, who wore this? What was their story? What were they like? A friend of mine owns a consignment shop in Los Angeles, and there's a customer she calls whenever this one woman drops off clothes. And so the two have never met. And this woman will buy anything the other woman has dropped off, and she calls her ghost stylist. And she makes up stories about this, glamorous life that she lives. Because we're desperate for those connections. You pull a pair of jeans off a shelf in the Gap, you're not wondering about some story. You're praying to God some poor 15-year-old in Indonesia wasn't making them, right? So we want awe. We want to own something special. We want humanity. So where does this leave us? There's sort of a thread running through all this. Right now, we're pretty overwhelmed. We're pretty frightened. And we're uncertain. I can make all the maps, but I honestly don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 months. I know the reasons why, but I don't know what that result will be, right? So what we're seeking is a sense of security and control. Again, doesn't it sound good to have a 12-step process? Don't you love it when someone says, do these 5 things? You feel control. So we're embracing escapism, and we're trying to self-soothe. We feel lonely, and we're scared, and a little bit adrift right now. And this promise of a frictionless society sounds pretty damn cold. So what do we do? Where do we go with this? I want to say ironically, but I don't believe in irony. I believe in serendipitous collision. What people want, and I talk to roughly 5,000 people a year, one-on-one, for the work that I do. What people want is what is happening exactly right now in this room. The number one request when I say to people, what would you most like in your life right now? They want to be in a collective community of people who share their vision and values. A collective community. Gen Z calls it small circles of trust. I want you to introduce me to a small group, to like a tribe of people who are like me. It's called clanning. It's called community building. It's called groups. One of the fastest growing phenomena in New York right now are eating, social, and health clubs. People pay just so that when I go in to that place, to that room, I'm a member, I'm a part of something. It's not about prestige anymore. It's about belonging. Right? So what you all are doing right here, right now, is exactly what humanity is seeking. Where's the place where I can go and know that the person I turn to, even though I don't know them yet, I know that they share my values. I know that there's someone I can get to know. It's a place where I feel safe and seen. So why are you here? Think about that. What brought you into this room? So I have a challenge. If we know the future is about being in a collective, if we know the future is actually about being more human, not less, is everyone in this room willing to become an ambassador to that kind of future? Yes? Can I have a show of hands? Y'all don't have to say yes. The greatest power we have right now to control the future, to build the future. The future is not something that happens to us, okay? The future is something that happens through us, right? These events happen in our lives. These big shifts that I talked about, these forces and trends happen. Our reaction and who we choose to react with is what the future becomes, okay? So the greatest power we have right now is to witness each other, to lean in and really listen, individually, personally, in real time. To really see the people who cross our paths. Not the labels we create. Think of the labels we create. I don't care if they're political. I don't care if they have to do with an issue. Those are bumper stickers. Peel them off. Peel them off. That's not who we are, right? It's not our values. That's not what we believe. Those are momentary things that are important to us, but that's not who we are. So our goal, what people are most hungry for, is to come back home to a tribe called human. So we're going to do a couple little exercises to practice that, okay? I know everyone loves a good exercise. Okay, first, don't get out of your chairs yet. I want everyone to give me your best, I'm 14 and I'm sitting in the back seat of a car my dad's driving and I could not be more annoyed. Eye roll? Yes? Okay, good. You've got that out of the way. Now we do the exercises. Everybody stand up. So the first thing we're going to do first of all, thank you for moving your chairs in. That was brilliant, because I was going to ask you to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is a little bit of a contest, okay? So I'm going to give you a minute, and we're going to walk around. Paige, would you come up for a second? Paige is going to demonstrate this exercise with me. It's a lot of fun, I swear. You'll thank me later. So you're going to walk around, and I want you to make eye contact with someone you do not know. This is important, okay? Once you find that person, hi, we don't know each other, we have to come up with 4 things we have in common that are not, I'm female, and I'm in a conference room, no, okay? We got to go a level deeper, right? So we're going to quickly figure out 4 things that we know. Then when we're done, she and I are going to put our hands up. I'm going to leave this one down, but both hands up. And then we're going to look around. We're going to find another set of 2 who's got their hands up. And we're going to slide over to where they are. And then the 4 of us are going to figure out 3 things we have in common. We can't repeat what we already figured out, right? So now we're a group of 4. So now the 4 of us are going to find another group of 4. And that group of 8 have to find 2 things. First group of 8 formed are the winners. And there is a prize.
I'm in.
All right.
Let's go.
Get down there. All right. So start milling around, and I'm going to say start after I've seen some good movement. Find someone you don't know. Come on up here. Come on up. We have a winner. Come on up, group of 8. Come up, come up, come up. Come on up, you guys. Well done. Look at this. I love this group. All right, who's the spokesperson? Who's the spokesperson of your group? Ah?
All right.
Right, Crystal.
Oh, yeah.
So would you tell us something about all of you guys?
Do you remember?
Do I need to do something for this? How do I work it? Yeah, that's on. Okay, so we all voted in the last election, and we all send at least one email a day for our jobs.
I might have put that with I'm a woman and a vote. I don't know.
We were at a-
When you were in the groups of 2, anything surprising, anything unique that could be?
the first group of 2 that I was in, there were several similarities, obviously, because we had to find 4. We're both moms, have dogs. Yeah, we're dog people. They're cat people, but we all voted in the last election, so we're good.
Some issues out of the way. I applaud that. Good job. Yeah. What about you guys? Group of 2?
I was with the talker.
Okay.
In my group of 2, maybe it was a little bit basic, but we both love the color black. We wear gold jewelry. We like podcasts. I can't remember what the 4th one was that we had.
From Montana. You're from Montana, right? Wasn't that you guys do?
Yeah, we're from Montana.
We didn't do that one, though.
We didn't do that one, though.
Wow, I can't remember what the 4th was.
So, thank you guys. You guys are fantastic. So, winners, winners. Claps for the winners.
We both can do something.
So let me ask you, was that hard? Was it hard? Was it hard talking to a stranger? Okay, we have more. But wait. There's more. So in my work, I have to talk to complete strangers all the time. It's literally my job, right? So I'm paid to talk to strangers. So I have come up with a 3-part process that I would like to pass on to you guys. You're gonna have to get up again, just FYI. You don't have to do it this second. Here's how the 3-part process works. First, be curious. Be curious. I run focus groups. 8 people will come into a room, and I will tell you right now, I know everything there is to know about them before they even speak. That tennis mom from Orange County, know her. Blue collar, got him. I am wrong 100% of the time. Thank God. And I sit there and I watch and I wonder, and my heart opens again and again. That tennis mom, she lost a child 4 years ago. That blue collar worker, his wife left him. He hasn't been able to work since because he's so heartbroken. The teenager who's giving me so much attitude, he's flunked out of school because his sister's sick. Every human being on this planet has a story that will bring you to your knees. Can you imagine being on a bus and looking across at someone who's vaguely annoying you because they're listening to something without their headphones? And then you just start to wonder what's going on that they forgot that step. Or you stop and you compliment a flight attendant who's walking down the aisle, and by the time you're off the flight, not only have you gotten some goodies, you've learned the story of why she's still flying at 62. The world is full of stories richer and more varied than Netflix, I promise you. And everyone's yearning to tell their story and equally interested in yours. So my 3-part process: first, curiosity. Second, compliment. You can always find something to compliment someone on, right? A hat they have on, a bracelet, a pin, a belt, anything, a bag, something they have in their shopping cart. You compliment someone, someone looks up, they feel good. And that opens them up to a question. Tell me about that brooch. Ooh, that pineapple looks gorgeous. Are they on sale? Like, is that a thing? Is there something, are you making something with that, right? Using these 3 steps, you can connect with anybody, anywhere, anytime. This isolation we all feel, the separateness we all feel, that awkwardness we all feel, except for elevators, I can't fix that. This 3-part process works every time. So I'm gonna ask you again to get up, find someone you don't know, and give this a whirl, okay? Find something to compliment, be curious, and ask a question. Oh, my tip.
All day, yes. So. Yeah, I love it. I want that.
So she has, she's so cute. She's called the Sparkle Squad.
Uh-huh.
She literally comes to us, she has a briefcase with a banker briefcase.
Uh-huh. I love that. It's so subtle. Yeah, yeah. And is it like weaves in then, or what? Right, right.
Okay, one more minute, everybody, one more minute. Okay, everybody wrap it up. Wrap it up. Okay, everybody can take their seats. Great job. I overheard some things. Great work. So as we push back against the specter of loneliness and we push back against our fears about a world run by robots, it's important to embrace technology. It's important to embrace the trends that I shared with you. But our single greatest weapon against fear and anxiety is humanity, right? And it's understanding that every single human being has a story and wants to hear yours too. So some other openers just to keep in mind. Great ways to get someone going after the compliment. What's my greatest fear? What's my secret superpower? What's my greatest regret? Or, oh, I would trade everything, right? So have an arsenal of little questions in your pocket. Be the change. Be the instigator. You'll be surprised at what you find. And can you imagine a world where every time you look around, you know there's 100 stories you just haven't heard yet? Like, how exciting is that? That the person sitting next to you, the person on the bus, the person on the subway, the person standing next to you in the checkout line has 100 stories that you haven't heard yet. Doesn't that make life more interesting? So in close, I'm going to read a poem, and I'm going to do my best not to cry. I don't know if I've gotten through this poem yet without crying. But it sort of sums up why I do what I do. It's called Small Kindnesses by Danusha Lamaris. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs to let you by. Or how strangers still say, bless you, when someone sneezes, a leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we are saying. And sometimes, when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly, we don't want to harm each other. We wanted to be handed our cup of coffee hot, and to say thank you to the person handing it, to smile at them, and for them to smile back, for the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire, only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy, these fleeting temples we make together when we say, here, have my seat. Go ahead, you first. I like your hat. Thank you. I should ask, sorry. Any questions from 7 hours ago when I was taking you through some of the trends or the key forces? Anything that struck someone? Anyone have a question, a comment? Yes. I would throw this to you. I know. I can speak about it.
How do you get others on board with this? I mean, we had like your presentation and we can feel it and we're all emotional now, but how do I take this back home and get my community in on it?
Yeah. So this is literally my work, right?
Yeah.
So I do consumer research, and whether it's Clorox or General Mills or whatever, what I've learned is the only thing that will change hearts in the room is the story, right? But I can't just go in and tell a story, right? I can't say, well, I went out and I talked to 9 people and, it's gonna break your heart. It won't work. So always do your research, right? Pull the quantitative research, pull the secondary studies, right? So I've given you the forces, right? So you can look at and you go, okay, I know about post-pandemic issues, I know about haptic hunger, whatever. So these are scientific, these are based on numbers, right? But then the way you sell this, the way you make an initiative happen is through that one story that is the example, right? The heartfelt example. So if I'm standing in front of 200 executives at Mattel, I've done my homework, I take them through the numbers, I take them through the charts, I take them through the forces, I take them through the trends, and then I run some video of a mom, talking to me about how she calls American Girl place the Palace of No. How she can't go in there because she can't afford anything in there, and it breaks her heart every time, right? So I do my homework, and then I get out of the way and let the story bring it home, right? So that you always have to have that first-person narrative that goes here, but you have to be standing on the stuff that goes here, right? Because that gives your community permission to believe what they just heard and felt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate all the time. Not moving.
Don't move.
Not moving.
Okay, I gotta put this back in here. Hold on. Okay, so how many of you were here with us last year and heard Elke Govertson speak? So these two ladies, and Sam Schmidt in the back, are all besties. And so we are channeling a bit of Elke today. For those of you who do know her, she had an accident earlier this year. And she actually, end of last year, actually physically lost her voice due to impact on her vocal cords. And if anyone knows Elke, her voice is what we love about her, that connected us to her and us to each other last year and left every eye in this room weeping. So it has been a true struggle for her to continue to share her message. She does have a Substack. I will make sure in the email following this event that it goes out to all of you. Please follow for free, or there is a paid subscription as well. And I'll give her email, and I think it would be wonderful if we all sent her a message that she was here with us in spirit today, because she would have liked to have been here. And she also sent a message for Lynn in her absence. She says, Lynn Casey is a rare wonder. Her ability to dig in and listen again and again, opening people's minds and asking the question underneath the facade is profound. She earns trust, her insights are informed, important, and create real impact. True empathy is the hardest of callings, and there is no one who carries it, cares for it, and shares it like Lynn Casey. So with that, please let's thank Lynn Casey for joining us.